The diversity of Alberta's ranch land presents challenges and opportunities for beef producers. Working with the land is vital to ensure long-term sustainability. Each year, the Alberta beef producers recognize an operation that demonstrates leadership in environmental stewardship, who contributes to the land while maintaining productivity and profitability. This year, the Environmental Stewardship Award is presented to Round Rock Ranching.
The ranch was started by my great-great-grandfather, so I'm the fifth generation. You know, you're committed to it because you've seen your parents or your grandparents work at it and struggle at it and take it a direction. And your connection to the land is there because you know it's been important to you. It's been important to you, and you can see the kids coming, it's important to them, and you can see that, you know, it's been important to the generations before. We've picked breeds that fit the land rather than trying to force the land to produce for the cattle. So we put a lot of pressure on selecting cattle that fit what we do. 80% of our land base is native. It's the fastest disappearing ecosystem in the world, and particularly in the parkland region. And I think that gives us a whole different set of management challenges and opportunities at our place that a lot of ranches wouldn't have. Every quarter that we would have has a coulee going through it, so we deal with a lot of slopes and a lot of riparian creeks, streams, those types of issues, and slope is a big thing here. A healthy native pasture in the spring shouldn't be green. It should have lots of carryover and lots of litter. It basically is creating a mat that, you know, holds temperature, holds moisture. That litter is our insurance policy against drought. It's our insurance policy against overgrazing. This would be our southernmost piece of land, and this coulee to the background is the Benner coulee, and it hooks up. This is the northernmost point of the Battle River. So this just basically is in the Battle River watershed, and it drains into the river and heads to Battleford. From the top parts, there's lots of rough fescue. When you get further down and actually to the south end of the soil's maybe not as good, we move more into some needle grasses. Quite a bit of northern and western wheatgrass. 2002 was the last time we ever had a cow directly access a dugout on our ranch. Since then we've pumped every dugout. This dugout was basically down to about 6 inches of water left in the very bottom. And basically the cattle were to a point where the water wasn't even drinkable anymore. The only change we've really made here as far as getting trees to come is fence it. And I mean, now the willows are, you know, 15 feet high and getting better every year. Really the change has just been in the management of it. It hasn't been, you know, a big investment of dollars and planting trees and that sort of thing. It's just been a shift in our management. So, coaxing nature along and letting her do her thing, she can do amazing things if you just kind of let her. Conservation is important to me and here just because initially that's just the way we were raised. But the other thing we've discovered here, or maybe knew all along, is that the better we do at conservation, the lower our costs are and the more value we produce. And so the land keeps getting better and our costs go down, and the amount of labor and effort it takes us, Mother Nature's commandeered most of our labor. Some of the key ways we look after the wetlands, a lot is timing of grazing. So grazing later in the year, winter grazing. A lot of cases when we winter graze native, you know, the creek's frozen, so the cattle aren't putting any pressure on it, and they're actually grazing snow and grazing evenly across the entire landscape. That's been a good tool. We do pump water. So we have a variety of solar and gas powered and nose pumps and different kind of tools that we use to get cattle to, you know, have access to water. But it affects our grazing distribution as well, so we're pretty careful about how we use them. So our feeding strategy is always based around cost. We would typically, on our cows, we would graze native into the winter. Typically, lots of times we take cows in off native pasture in January, as late as February. From there, we would go on to swath grazing typically, and after that, we'd move on to bale grazing. It saves fuel, saves time, and in the end, it saves money, and it puts the nutrients and the waste on the land and spreads it out where it needs to be. It's basically putting the nutrients where you need them. So this is an ALICE project. ALICE stands for Alternative Land Use Services. This was our first ALICE project. It's an alternate way to use land so that we're paid for environmental goods and services. So we've taken this slough and fenced it off, and we've added some duck houses just to facilitate nesting of ducks. And then the upland was all seeded back to native grassland species, and it's contiguous with, there's about 80 or 90 acres of native rangeland in behind it. The idea is that we get an annual reimbursement for providing services to the public like clean air and water, carbon sequestration, wildlife habitat, biodiversity preservation, species preservation, all those types of things that sort of people take for granted and maybe don't realize the benefit to society that we're maybe providing. The groups we've worked with here on our ranch include Cows and Fish, ASB, the former PFRA, Alberta Environment, and we've done a bunch of work with Land EKG. Receiving this award, first, it's a big honor, and secondly, I think it means that people have noticed what we've been doing, and I think that, and I hope that it encourages other people to kind of take a look and realize that it's doable and they can kind of go down this path as well.
Well, actually, it's quite an honor, really, to me. Makes me pretty proud of Sean too.
From a bigger picture across our whole ranch, our vision is the best beef in a better world. So I would like to see, should my kids choose to ranch, or when we get to that stage, I would like to see our place in better condition than it is today.